Hello, I'm still not Corey, but I am fully vaccinated, and hopefully you are too. Joe Rogan is back giving his amazing takes on vaccines, so I thought I'd have a little look and see what he's got to say, because I'm sure it can only be good.
You know, you can't work anymore unless you do what I say. That's essentially what a vaccine passport is.
Right.
You can't do what you want to do unless you do what I want you to do.
I mean, okay, sure, but you can't show up to work naked. What? I don't know why people are acting like this is a brand new thing that is only just happening now. There's lots of things that you're not allowed to do. There's lots of things that you're not allowed to choose to do. For example, you're not allowed to choose to not wear a seatbelt. You're not allowed to choose to go into work naked. There are many things that if you do them, you're not allowed to work. A vaccine is just one in a long list of those things. So if you have an issue with a vaccine, you should really have an issue with all of this whole host of other things as well. If you were ill and contagious and your work said to you, hey, don't come in because we don't want you spreading it to everyone else, that wouldn't be a bad thing. That's still the work saying, oh, you can't choose to do what you want to do. This not being allowed to do what you want to do exists with so many other things, like I've mentioned, right? And I have to wonder, why is it that you're only talking about vaccines? Surely, if your issue is not being allowed to do what you want to do, then your issue should be with all of those things, not just vaccines. But actually, you just don't like vaccines and you're coming up with any reason to not want to like them, right? You're just coming up with anything you can say like, oh, it's bad because we're not allowed to do what we want to do. We're not allowed to go to work. And it's all the vaccines. That happens with so many things. Vaccines are not an outlier here. Vaccines are one of many things you must have or do in order to be able to engage in society.
Don Lemon was talking about that openly on CNN.
Yeah.
Don't have a vaccine? Can't go to the supermarket. Don't have a vaccine? Can't go to work.
You drunk? You're not allowed to drive. Endangering other people? You're not allowed to... If you're endangering other people's lives, then you should not be allowed to be around other people. And I'm sorry, but not being vaccinated is genuinely endangering other people's lives. If you're unvaccinated, it makes it easier for you to get the virus, and it means that you can still spread that virus too. So you're putting other people at risk through your own personal choice. There are many, many things in society that we're not allowed to do because it can harm other people. The fact is that not allowing unvaccinated people to engage in certain things isn't this crazy radical new idea. It exists elsewhere in society. This happens constantly, and you're not calling that out at all. I don't see people saying, oh, I should be allowed to drunk drive if I want. I should be. I should be allowed to smoke weed and drive all I want. I'm not allowed to go to work high? Why not? If you were on a flight and your pilot said, hey everyone, I'm stoned. I'm just absolutely blazed. But hey, don't tell me that I'm not allowed to fly the plane because I can do what I want. You can't do what you want if you're putting other people at risk. And being unvaccinated is putting other people at risk. It doesn't matter if you don't want one or you think they're a little bit scary. They are safe, and you are making yourself safer and everyone else safer by getting vaccinated. Undeniably, the benefits of the vaccine far, far outweigh the risks, and the risks of the vaccine are also entirely trumped by the risks of actually getting COVID. That is why we use the vaccines. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any goddamn point. The vaccines are useful, the vaccines are safe, and the vaccines are a good thing for everyone to get because it can protect everyone. In fact, when more people have vaccines, it can be even better because vaccines can make diseases harder to spread. They can also lessen the symptoms of diseases when you get them, which means you're less likely to be hospitalized and less likely to die. Vaccines are all around pretty good. At this point, there's really no reason to not get one unless, you've got a medical exemption. Otherwise, you're just being stubborn and buying into this anti-vax misinformation.
They're dumb. They don't understand history. They don't understand
Right.
human beings. They don't understand human nature. They don't understand the history of every single country that's ever existed other than the United States. Up until 1776, every country that has ever existed was run by dictators.
Right.
All of them.
It's not really true, though, is it? That's not that true. And also, sure, you can say that America started democracy. I'll let you off with that one. Whatever. That doesn't mean that America is good at democracy. You've got a two-party system and the Electoral College, which stops actual democracy from happening. You can have your states be democratic, but when it comes to the actual number of people, it's not democratic in that sense. There are many things wrong with America's democracy. Okay? I can't believe you're going from, hey, get this vaccine because you're making yourself and everyone safer, to every other country in the world had a dictator up until America invented democracy. What has that got to do with anything? Telling people do this thing because it keeps other people safe is not a one-to-one with a dictator, right? It's not a one-to-one with a society wherein you have to do everything that this one person at the top says. Ultimately, there are laws in place to stop you from doing what you want to do if what you want to do is harmful to other people. I sound like a broken record, but it is so simple. It's unbelievable that he's just ignoring this and spewing this absolute rubbish to his audience. Honestly, he does this so often. You've got to wonder, like, does he even care about being responsible with his audience? I've had a run-in with his audience before, and let me tell you, they will listen to him. They will listen to him and believe whatever he says. I have genuinely had people say, why would I believe XYZ person over Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan has had experts on, and also Joe Rogan has been like, you know, a sportsman for many years, so I should really trust what he says. Even when he goes back on what he says, it doesn't matter. When he says dumb stuff like this, his audience will latch onto it. And that is just shocking that he continues to do this. Your words matter, right? The things that you say have weight, Joe Rogan. Maybe consider what you're saying before you just let it spew out of your mouth.
This is the first one where you had elected officials. This is the first experiment in self-government that actually worked.
I'm just gonna hop back to the democracy thing real quick because, you know what? No, America didn't invent democracy, and I'm not gonna let you get away with that one. You didn't. It was invented long before that. It existed in some form in ancient Greece. It existed in some form in ancient Rome, okay? America did not invent democracy. Modern democracy, sure, America might have been the pioneer of that, but again, doesn't mean they're the best at it. Just because they were the first people to do it in the 1700s does not mean that 250 years later, they're the absolute best at it. The English invented football, but we don't go around saying, oh yeah, the English are the best at football, because we know they're not. The fact is that the democracy that started in America is still kind of different to how it is today, and honestly, America's democracy is just, it's a little bit broken. It needs some fine-tuning. It's not that great, okay? So I don't understand why this is the point that's being brought up.
And it created the greatest superpower the world's ever known. It created the greatest cultural machine, the greatest machine of art and creativity and innovation right here. And how did it do that? It did it through freedom.
Did it really though? 'Cause I mean, there wasn't much freedom for all people back when America started. And you know, all the countries that America invades, takes over, you know, they've got a little empire that they don't really want to call an empire. I wouldn't say that's necessarily freedom, okay? Being the world's greatest superpower doesn't mean that you just love freedom, because ultimately, America isn't all that free. Sure, you've got freedom of speech, you've got all the blah, 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 but the point is that you're not free to do whatever you want. America is, for example, a capitalist society, wherein to do things, you need money. Look, I don't want to delve too deeply into it in this video, but America isn't all that free of a country, really, is it? It's also not that great of a country. If you look at different measures of countries in the world based on, like, happiness of citizens, all these other things, America does not come at the top all that often. It rarely does. Honestly, it's not that great of a country. Sure, it's got a lot of money, it's got a lot of military strength. Don't think that's necessarily what makes a country great. And if you do think that, maybe consider why, because if military strength is what makes a country great, then what you're doing is taking your freedom at the cost of freedom of other people. So, not that great. Not really built just on freedom for all. Built on freedom for the people in your little in-group, maybe, but wouldn't say freedom for all.
Because when you give people freedom, you let people do whatever the they want to do, they actually find ways to succeed and grow and thrive. But as soon as you put the boots to them, as soon as you tell them, you have to do this or you can't do that, you have to listen to me, now you have a mini dictator. You have one step away from a king. You have a one step closer. You're moving one step closer to dictatorship. That's what the is happening. That's what's going to happen with a vaccine passport. That's what's going to happen if they close borders. You can't enter New York City unless you have your papers.
That's right, Joe Rogan. As soon as you tell people you need to do this, if you want to do that, that means that you're a mini dictator, which is why capitalism is bad. If you want to be able to survive, then you've got to work. Glad you agree with me there, Joe Rogan. You made a brilliant argument for the abolishment of money, the abolishment of classes. Well done. Good job. Really terrible argument, though, for the whole vaccine thing. Unless, of course, you're kind of saying, hey, Let's get rid of all laws. Because most laws fall into that, You're not allowed to do this unless that. Free market capitalism doesn't work, which is why, you've had to add so many different checks and balances. Because when you let people do just whatever they want, especially in a system where people are incentivized to compete with other people and take more so that other people get less, then yeah, people doing whatever they want usually comes at the detriment of other people. You can't just let people do whatever they want because that will end up infringing on the freedom of others. Yes, it's a complicated issue. I'm not saying that freedom is bad, but what I'm saying is that laws are good in some cases. Laws for having to get a vaccine so you don't spread a virus and kill people, pretty good. Laws for not drunk driving, pretty awesome. Laws for not killing people or stealing from people or any other number of things that benefits you but harms other people. Those are good laws, I think. I don't think it's bad to have a law that says, hey, don't harm other people in service of your own selfish needs. That is fine. I think that's okay. I don't think that's a dictatorship. I don't think that's putting the boot down on someone's neck. Ultimately, you're not getting a vaccine for any solid reason because every bit of evidence points to the fact that these vaccines are safe and effective. I just want you to understand my perspective here. I want you to understand what this sounds like to me. This sounds like someone half drunk saying, if I'm not allowed to drive my car right now, that's just like a dictator. You're being a dictator, man. Like, it's not cool. And that's, America is not made for dictators. It's made for freedom. So I have freedom to drive my car, no matter how many beers I've had. Like, that's what you sound like. It is just, the vaccines are safe. The vaccines are effective. And you're harming other people by choosing to not get one. You are putting society at risk. If you're doing that and you're not willing to help protect other members of society, if you're not willing to, stop yourself from potentially harming other members of society, then I think it's fair for you not to engage in society, right?
You can't go to here unless you have that. You can't get on a plane unless you do what I say.
Do what I say here. Just remember, do what I say here is get a vaccine. I got mine the other day. Took me about 25 minutes. Maybe 5 minutes or so, just a bit more than that, waiting beforehand, a couple minutes getting the vaccine, and I had to wait 15 minutes afterwards to make sure I was okay. Sorted. Very easy. No side effects for me whatsoever. I'm feeling great. At this point, it's shocking, because you have to get vaccines to go to certain countries anyway, right? That is something you've had to do for the entirety of my life, at least, right? You get vaccines for yellow fever before going to places where yellow fever is prevalent. That is something that you do. Vaccine passports are not a brand new thing that is being implemented to put the boot down on people's necks. It's not going to lead to a dictatorship. It's not going to lead to kings and whatnot. It's just, let's do something that's in the best interest of society. If you had any actual goddamn reason for not wanting to take this vaccine, then maybe you'd have an argument. But you don't. You don't have scientific evidence on your side. All you've got is anti-vaxxers who are, at one point were saying, oh, the COVID jab will give you 5G in your arm. At one point who were saying, oh, they're putting microchips in the COVID jab, despite having no idea how large microchips are. People saying, oh, it's going to alter your DNA, despite the fact that it's an RNA vaccine. These people who have no understanding of anything that they're talking about are the ones that you're listening to. These are the people that you're taking your advice from. It is absolutely asinine. You have no reason to not take the vaccine unless you are medically exempt. Honestly, there is no reason not to take it. So someone saying, hey, if you want to do this, then you gotta take it, that is fine. Are you gonna say, oh, the fact that we've got to wear clothes is oppressive, it's gonna lead to dictators and kings? No, you don't say that, because that's stupid, and you know it's stupid. Are you gonna say, oh, having to wear a seatbelt, that's gonna lead to dictators and kings? Oh, not being allowed to drunk drive, that's gonna lead to dictators and kings? Not being allowed to piss anywhere I please, in the street, that's gonna lead to dictators and kings? No, you won't say that, because you understand that sometimes your freedoms can infringe on the freedoms of others, the freedom of other people to be healthy and safe. You realize that. You understand that it's a silly thing to say that these things will lead to dictatorships. You understand that when you make everyone free to do absolutely anything they want to do, then some people, some selfish people, are gonna put what they want to do before the safety and health of others. And it is okay to say, you can't do this list of things that it will infringe upon the safety and health of others. You don't say that those actions should be allowed. You don't say that those actions lead to a better society, because you understand that they don't. The difference between these actions and your whole vaccine thing is that you don't want to get a vaccine. In this instance, you are the selfish person that's wanting to do something that puts your own self-interest in front of the health and safety of everyone else. And so you're not applying your logic consistently, because if you were to apply it consistently, either you'd have to admit that you are being selfish and idiotic, or that everything should be allowed. Shitting in the street, pissing on people, doing whatever you goddamn please should be allowed. And you can't argue either of those things, because one of them makes you seem absolutely insane. Your audience would be like, no, hold on, wait a second, Joe Rogan. No, I don't want people being allowed to shit in the street. I don't see how allowing people to shit in the street would be for the betterment of society. Your audience would catch on to the nonsense that you're selling if you did that one. If you apply the other logic consistently, your audience would realize, oh wait, no, hold on, I'm being selfish. I don't like that. So you have to use this kind of cognitive dissonance here to say people should be allowed to do what they want to do. They should be allowed to do whatever they want to do, because otherwise it leads to dictatorships, and it's not a democracy, except for these things that we all agree are bad things that people shouldn't be allowed to do. It's really funny because you say that you're advocating for freedom, people's freedom to do what they want to do, but you're not quite doing that. You're advocating for people's freedom to choose whether or not they get a vaccine. And ultimately, not getting a vaccine is a lot more akin to, I don't know, drunk driving, or breaking into someone's house, or doing some vandalism and graffiti, right? It's much more akin to that than it is to religious freedom, or freedom of expression, or, freedom to call yourself whatever you like. Those are very different things. Some things are personal choices that have no detrimental effect to other people, and other things are also kind of personal choices that do specifically detriment others. And sorry to say, but not getting a vaccine definitely falls into the latter category, which is why vaccines are something that you have to get in order to engage in certain parts of society.
And people say, whoa, it's all about protecting people from the... No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It is. It is about protecting people. Vaccines will protect people more so than just going out and hoping you don't get it. I'm sorry. That's how it works. We can't change it.
But where are the people out there calling for people to get healthy? Where are the people out there calling for people to lose weight? 78% of the people in the ICU for COVID are obese. 78%. Where's that information being shared?
Yes, that statistic is probably true, but people are talking about how obesity affects this. I mean, I searched it and there were quite a few articles talking about it, but it's not an either-or situation. You can both promote healthy living, healthy lifestyles, and maintaining a healthy weight, whilst also encouraging people to get the vaccine, because, as I've said before in another video, a healthy weight, a healthy diet, and exercise are not just replacements for a vaccine. They are simply not. If you actually understand how all of this works, you realize that just being young and healthy is not good enough to protect you from COVID. The vaccine is far better, and having both is fantastic, okay? And ultimately, again, right, you can promote healthy living, right? You can promote being a healthy weight, you can promote all of that stuff, but it's not going to help people that are obese right now, right? Right now, in the middle of this pandemic, that is not going to help, because it takes a good amount of time to lose that amount of weight, right? And all the while you're losing the weight, you're still going to be at risk, right? And say you've got to go to a gym where there are other people there, right? You're going to be increasing your risk through that. Getting a vaccine takes 2 injections. It takes about 20 minutes each time. You want to have maybe 8 weeks between them. 2 weeks after the first injection, you've got pretty good protection. 2 weeks after the second, you've got pretty great protection, right? You understand how just losing weight is not a substitute for that. Even outside of the fact that being a healthy weight is not a substitute for a vaccine in and of itself, this is such a silly point to make, because the fact is that you can get a vaccine right now. You can't immediately drop down from being obese to being a healthy weight as quickly as you can get a vaccine. So saying, oh, where's the encouragement for people to lose weight and be healthy? There is encouragement for that. There's always encouragement for that. But the vaccine is the solution to this problem right now.
Where's someone who's a leader who gets on TV and says, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to decrease our body mass. We've got to decrease our fat. We've got to make sure that people aren't overweight. We've got to make sure that people are healthy. Walk around your block.
In the UK, we were allowed out for an hour a day to exercise. I'm fairly sure it's not uncommon to have world leaders talk about the health of their population. If I could find a clip of one of them doing it, I'll pop it in here.
And today, news of another intervention, tougher measures to tackle obesity.
Now, I'm not normally a believer in nannying or bossying type of politics, but the reality is that obesity is one of the real comorbidity factors. It's losing weight is frankly one of the ways that you can reduce your own risks.
As he promoted a wider plan to prevent a second wave of COVID-19, a huge rollout of the flu vaccine to include all over 50s, people who are shielding, and some school children. These measures will sit alongside the plans to tackle obesity.
But again, why would it make sense for Joe Biden to get up and say, hey everyone, get out and exercise. Forget about the virus for a second. Get out and exercise. That's the best way of protecting yourself. When there's a bloody vaccine, you can say, get out and exercise, but also get the vaccine. But getting the vaccine is a much more realistic thing. And if you're going to focus on one thing, focus on the goddamn vaccine. You focus on that because that can offer almost instant protection. After 2 weeks, it can offer protection, right? And after the second one, 2 weeks after that, you've got pretty great protection from the virus. Losing weight is not a surefire way to protect yourself because people that are a healthy weight can still get this, have long COVID, or die, right? That can still absolutely happen. And the chances of that happening with the vaccine are far, far lower. Otherwise, we wouldn't be offering the vaccine to anyone but people that are overweight or otherwise more predisposed to getting a severe case of COVID. This logic is just ridiculous. This is just playing into people who don't really care about what he's actually saying. They just don't like the vaccine. They want someone who's got a big platform to tell them that they don't need to get the vaccine. They want someone to validate their feelings about the vaccine being bad. And it doesn't matter how poor the logic is, how nonsensical what he's talking about is. They just want to be validated. That's what you want. You just want to be validated. You'll ignore all of the scientific evidence. You'll ignore the entire scientific community saying, hey, no, vaccine good. You'll ignore doctors, scientists, even government officials just parroting them. You'll ignore all of them and listen to Joe Rogan, just some guy with a podcast. He doesn't have any qualifications in this whatsoever. He doesn't. And he's just saying, oh yeah, vaccine may be bad. He's probably got it himself, by the way. Joe Rogan has probably got the vaccine himself, and he's sitting here spouting all of this about, oh, it's okay to not want the vaccine. The only people that are listening to this and actually believing it are people who don't like the vaccine anyway, who just want some goddamn reason to say, hey, I don't want to get it, and it's okay because Joe Rogan said so. It's not okay. No matter what Joe Rogan says, it's not okay to not get the vaccine unless you're medically exempt. It's a selfish decision. You're being selfish, okay? Get the vaccine. I promise you, it's fine. Look at me. 2 days ago. I'm great. I'm good. Feeling fantastic. Get the bloody vaccine.
You don't have to do something complicated. Start drinking more water. Stop eating sugar. Start taking vitamins.
I'm sorry, but drinking water, not eating sugar, and taking vitamins are not gonna protect you from COVID as well as getting a bloody vaccine. The thing that was literally made to protect you from COVID. Just to let you know how the vaccine works. Just a quick refresher here. Okay, the vaccine, depending on which one it is, it can be different ways, but let's just use an RNA vaccine, right? An RNA vaccine goes into your body. It makes your cells create a little tiny part of the virus, which makes your immune system then see, oh look, it's a little part of a virus. I know how to beat this. Yeah, I'm ready for the next time that the virus actually comes around. So if the virus comes into your system, your body is already prepared. It's got the antibodies to fight it. That is how vaccines work. That is pretty much the basic principle of how all vaccines work. It is getting your body ready to fight whatever it needs to fight. It is using your inbuilt immune system to get yourself ready. So drinking water, eating vitamins, all of that stuff is not going to be comparable to getting a little test run, a little tutorial round for your body. And it is so evident that this guy just does not know what he's talking about, because otherwise, if he did, he wouldn't be saying this.
You can increase the strength of your immune system. We can fight things off better. We can be a healthier civilization.
You can fight things off better with a healthier immune system, yes, but do you know what's really good for a healthy immune system? Like mine, for example, is getting a vaccine. You can have the healthiest immune system in the world, and it would probably still be beneficial to give it a little tutorial, a little taster around. Give it a little, hey, here's what you might be up against at some point. That's what vaccines are, okay? That's what they are. Having a strong immune system is not a replacement for a vaccine, because having a strong immune system and getting a vaccine go together incredibly well. Incredibly well. And if what Joe Rogan was saying was, hey, do you know what? I think we should be promoting health and healthy living along with the vaccine. That would be a fantastic thing to say. That would make so much sense. But putting healthy living up against the vaccine is idiotic. Utterly idiotic. It is far easier to prepare your immune system for something than it is to just try and get people to strengthen their immune systems. That is a much longer journey to take. That involves much more commitment and much more upkeep, right? And in the society that we live in, I'm sorry, but some people are going to be unable to do that, right? It's going to be harder for some people compared to others. And it is pretty easy to get a vaccine. 2 little injections. 2 injections, 8 weeks apart. That's all you need. That's all you need so far. We might need more if less people get the vaccine and we continue to let this thing spread and evolve and become some kind of like harder to control virus. That might happen. But if the virus does mutate further and cause more issues down the line, meaning that we need to get more vaccines, I can tell you, probably wouldn't have been because of people getting the vaccines in the first place. Would have been because people weren't getting them.
Better for everybody, right? You don't hear a peep. All you hear is, take this vaccine that doesn't even prevent you from getting the disease, or you can't go to the sauna.
That is not true. You do hear people talking about obesity. You do hear people talking about healthy living. Look, here are some articles that I've seen that are about obesity and COVID and healthy living. Okay, here they are. Look at that. There are some on screen now. It is being spoken about. Now, I will say, the vaccine talk probably outweighs this. But again, let's think about this. Promoting healthy living is a much more nebulous thing. It involves many different things. Joe Rogan even said, drinking water, getting vitamins, eating well, exercising regularly. These are all many different things that you need to do to protect yourself from COVID. But it won't even stop you from getting the disease. The vaccine is 2 different appointments, about 8 weeks apart. Much more accessible, much easier, much clearer messaging. It makes sense to focus on that. And on the point of it doesn't necessarily even stop you from getting the disease. Not 100%. There are very few vaccines that will stop you from getting disease 100%, but it severely limits your chances. And another fantastic thing about it is it greatly reduces the severity of symptoms. What it means is that if you do get the virus, it'll be much easier to deal with. You'll be less likely to get severe symptoms. You'll be less likely to go to hospital. You'll be less likely to die. You'll probably be less likely to get long COVID. Although, to be fair, I haven't properly looked into that, so take that with a grain of salt. The fact is that the vaccine works and it works well. Trying to say that healthy living is a better alternative to that, trying to even put healthy living on the same plane as getting a vaccine, in this climate right now, is ridiculous. Again, what Joe Rogan is doing is just hacking away at the vaccine with ridiculous, idiotic points because he knows that his audience don't like the vaccine. None of this makes any, actual proper scientific sense. Being healthy is good. It is a fantastic thing and it will help you if you get the virus. A vaccine is a preventative measure. It will help you regardless of your situation. Unless you've got a very, very poor immune system, it will help you to not get the virus and to not get it as severely. Get the vaccine and also live healthily. Do both. Do both of them. But the fact that people are focusing on getting the vaccine right now because it's a much more accessible thing makes perfect sense. That is it. I can rebut that entire rant in one sentence. The vaccine is more accessible and makes sense to focus on it. Boom, there you go, done. It's that simple. Jesus, man. Joe Rogan, honestly, just promoting this absolute rubbish to his audience. It's beyond negligence at this point, really. I can't believe it. The comments right now are probably going to be full of Joe Rogan fans. Hi guys, how you doing? Did you enjoy this video? I'm joking. Of course you didn't watch to this point. Of course you didn't. Although if you did, let me know. I'd be happy to know. And before you leave some insult about, I don't know, some feature of me, just remember, don't care. Actually, no, do leave it. I think they're quite funny. Go ahead. But seriously, the comments are going to be full of Joe Rogan fans who are, defending what he said, trying to refute what I'm saying with their evidence, despite the fact that what Joe Rogan's saying doesn't really have a huge basis in science at all. It's very easily refutable. All reputable scientists are saying, hey, no, that stuff is wrong. You can't replace a vaccine with just healthy living. Both is great. And trying to pit them against each other to his audience who are already against vaccines is just it's just a dangerous thing to do. Don't do it. Oh my God. I'm tired of this. Okay, I'm gonna be finished now. I'm done. I'm done. Goodbye. Goodbye. Jesus. Thank you for watching. You can find the full... I did it again. I did it again. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know if you've got the vaccine. Let me know if you're going to get the vaccine. That'd be good to know. Also, you know, you could check out my podcast, my science podcast. Yes, Joe Rogan fans, I do actually understand science. I've got a science podcast. Sorry, guys, the link is below. Check out my main channel. Other things that you should check out. They're all going to be in the description, I guess. Oh, is he? This is going on too long. Like this video, comment, subscribe, all the things. Thanking my patrons. All my patrons have been here. They are here right now. Thank you especially to Rachie May, Sarah, and Renegade. I think, actually, I've not checked. I'll say your name if you sign up with my Patreon. Okay, people are coming into my house now. I've lost the plot. Okay, goodbye.